Taylor, for being with us today.
Yeah, it's great to be on. Thanks for having me.
First talk about Symbolon itself and what inspired you to refresh it.
Yeah, it's a great question. So it was the first program we ever made. It's now over 10 years old, and a lot changes in 10 years. So some of the kind of more concrete reasons are a lot's changed with camera technology, what you can do, graphic developments, and basically tools for teaching the faith. And then the other big reason is we felt like we could bring more. We thought that we could give this a refresh. It's the same mission. Symbolon was about teaching the foundations of the faith by working through the creed, and it's doing the same thing. So it has the same mission, but we thought it was time to kind of update the storytelling, give it a little bit of a visual refresh. And one of the biggest changes we made was the original Symbolon. The whole thing was filmed in Rome, and this time we decided to film the vast majority of this in the United States. So we really wanted to tell the American Catholic story. We knew that the majority of people who were going to watch this are going to be here living in the United States. And we wanted to tell stories of how authentic sanctity has been found here on American soil, with the hope that anyone who's going to watch it is going to realize I'm called to that same sanctity as Father Emil Capon, Blessed Stanley Rother, the North American martyr. So one of the biggest changes was the storytelling. We really make a pilgrimage around the United States and want to tell the American Catholic story with the hope that it feels a little closer, a little bit more possible, and then really just kind of make it different, take a different approach this time.
So, Taylor, if Father Mike Schmidt can distill the Bible down to 10 minutes, I guess it can be done, but how was it that you distilled the entire Catholic faith into 16 30-minute episodes?
We did not.
Oh, okay.
No, we certainly did not. So yeah, the new series is 16 episodes, 30 minutes. We do not cover everything, of course. And then one of the guides we had was the subtitle of the series is The Faith of the Church. And obviously, Bishop, anybody who's watching will have ringing in their ears if they've been to a recent baptism or confirmation that after the baptismal promises, the priest says, "This is our faith. This is the faith of the church." And so that was our guiding light, is what do people need to know to give their assent to the faith of the apostles? So we really cover the creed. We obviously explore into some of the derivatives, some of the church's reflection on the articles of the creed over 2,000 years, but we do not cover everything. We had to be pretty ruthless in how we set up our kind of guidepost, because you can never exhaust the deposit of faith. So we certainly do not, but we do believe that if you watch this series, you could stand in front of the altar and say, I assent to the faith of the church.
And you talked about filming in the United States and mentioned some of the great faith people here in the United States that were bringing the message of God here to the United States. But maybe if you could talk about some of the particular places that you went to and why you chose those.
Yeah, so we wanted to be pretty geographically diverse. So we filmed on the West Coast, we filmed on the East Coast, we filmed a lot of places in between. But yeah, to give a concrete example, and this was my favorite episode, we went to Auriesville, New York, to film at the Shrine of the North American Martyrs. And that episode is about the theological virtues of faith, hope, and charity. So these are the infused virtues given by God. And they're abstract kind of in nature. Like, how do we interact with the virtues? It's an abstract concept. And so we asked ourselves, well, how can we tell a story that makes it concrete? And we thought, how better to explain the theological virtue of supernatural charity than what the North American martyrs did. They came and they ministered to the native peoples in Canada and North New York. They were treated terribly a lot of the time. It was incredibly challenging. At one point, St. Isaac Jogues goes back to France, and after he had his fingers cut off, he was tortured, and he says, I have to go back. And so when you're trying to understand how do the theological virtues transform us and elevate us into the supernatural life of God, how is that visible? Well, look at these amazing martyrs who loved in a completely selfless and perfectly sacrificial way. Here's a story that's going to make this kind of abstract theological teaching concrete. So that was one of my favorite episodes. I was really lucky to go co-host it and tell that story. But we wanted to take every teaching point, every theological point we were trying to get across, and find a local story that kind of enfleshes it, and then tease that out to show that we're obviously trying to pass on truths that first enter in through our intellect, but then these are obviously meant to find their way into our wills. and here's stories of men and women who actually made these visible that kind of give credibility to the teaching.
And besides just teaching the faith, Symbolon also invites people to a deeper life of prayer. Is that not the case?
Yes, that's exactly right. So we end every single episode with Lectio Divina, and the Catechism teaches us that prayer is where we live out our friendship with God. And so, no matter what we learn, if it doesn't find its way into a deep life of prayer, it won't matter. And so, we wanted to kind of have prayer be infused into every episode, and then every episode ends with Lectio Divina, and everyone can go, of course, pray in their own way, so to speak, but we wanted to model that. So if people are wondering, I just learned all this, what can I do with it? Well, here's how you could pray through a psalm with this, or here's how you could pray through a parable of the gospel. So we wanted to model that, because we have to, if we just learn, if it's just head knowledge, it's not going to matter. It has to find a way into our hearts, and then the Lord normally has these truths find a seat in our heart in prayer.
Well, thanks, Taylor. We really appreciate you coming on and being with us and helping us to understand better this great refresh of Symbolon. You're going to be at the Eucharistic Congress, by the way?
We are. The Augustine Institute will be there. I will be there. I will be giving some talks on Symbolon. So we're really excited. And
I'm going to look for you. I'm going to find you. I'm going to shake your hand.
I will be there. I would love to. We will be there July 17th, or I will be there the 17th through the 19th. So I would love to meet you. And July 17th is the day that Symbolon comes out on form. So if anyone's wondering when can I watch it, it's the same day the Eucharistic Congress kicks off. So July 17th on Formed.
Oh, great. And between now and then, where can people learn more about streaming Symbolon today?
Yes, anyone that's listening, you can go to augustineinstitute.org/Symbolon, and Symbolon is SYMBOLON. So augustineinstitute.org/Symbolon. You can just put in your name and email, and we'll send you email updates as we go.
Well, Taylor, thank you so much. As Vice President of Content, you have done us a great favor, and I hope to see you in Indy next week. God bless you.
I would love to. Thanks, Bishop.
Okay.